Welcome to another Cortex Snack video. My name is Cliff Hall and I'm going to guide you through the general screen layouts inside of Acumatica's screens, and today we'll start off with the journal transaction screen. Inside of Acumatica, every screen is laid out in a similar fashion to make it easy for your users and yourself to be able to use the system in a very comfortable way and of course save time and effort. At the top, we have several buttons. One here is called the Save button, and you can use the the shortcut for Control S to get to that. So instead of having to use your mouse, you can just go ahead and click Control S. There's also a Cancel or Escape button, and then you can also use the plus for an addition. So that's Control Insert will add a new record, and of course the requisite Delete button, which is Control and Delete. In this case, we have the clipboard, which allows us to do a couple things. One, we can copy. We can also paste. We can save the transaction as a template, and from the templates that we already have, we can paste those in and use those over and over again. Here we have what we call the video buttons, where we can go to the very first record in any screen. We can also go back one or forward one, and also to the most recent record that we have on the screen as well. Every screen that updates the system in terms of hitting the general ledger with transaction amounts will have a release button on it. In this case, we don't have anything to release just yet because it's already posted, but on new transactions you click the release button to let it go on its way and post to the general ledger accounts. Every screen has an actions drop-down menu, and on the action drop-down menu you have what they call location-specific items that you can do pertain to the screen you're on. For instance, in a journal transaction, we might want to reverse the batch, we might want to add it to a schedule, and we can also use it to reclassify account transactions if necessary. On the reports drop-down, we have reports that pertain to the screen, for instance, the batch register details and geo-reversing batches. When something on this screen is not lit up, that means it's not available. So we were going to do the edit details would be something that shows up if we had not posted but saved the transaction as balanced. In that case, then the edit details will show up. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. The rest of the screen, we have the ability to do some lookups. So for instance, here's a drop-down, and we can pick whichever module we want for this particular transaction to choose any journal transactions that pertain to those subledgers. In this case, general ledger is not the subledger, but AP, AR, cash manager, all of those are subledgers. The most important part of any screen is where we see the magnifying glass. This allows us to do a search. We can use this by clicking the magnifying glass itself or by hitting the field and pressing F3. F3 allows us to do a search on that particular screen to find a transaction. For instance, if I want to find a transaction number 451, I go up to here and type in 451. It won't pull up or show me any transactions that have 451 in the batch number field. And then I can pull that transaction up. There's transaction 451. It's on hold. So if I go up here and notice because it's on hold, it hasn't been posted, now the GL edit details shows up in my drop down here. Other screens will have different menus. One would be inquiries, and you'll see some other ones pertaining to each specific screen. Every screen inside of Acumatica also has the ability to put notes. The notes show up here. They also show up on the line items. When you see lines on a note, that means what we call it's a dirty note, which means there's information that we want to see. Here it says per FASB statement AE compliance. So I'm making a notation on this transaction for anybody who needs to look at it for either informational purposes or for audit purposes. For each one of these, we can also go ahead and use it for transactions, or excuse me, for activity. Activity might be something like a task that I might want to assign somebody to do pertaining to the transaction I'm on, or an event. If I can set up an event, would be something like a meeting I might want to have based on the transaction. There are a variety of other activities that you can use, like a chat or appointments or messages. So there's a lot of things you can do from each screen. And as we've seen in one of our other snack videos, you can actually take files and drag them and drop them onto the screen itself. So let's take a look at how that works. If I want to take a file and drag and drop it, I just need to pick the file that I want to drag and drop and place it over this transaction. When I do that, it goes up here to the file side and adds a 1 to it, which means I have a file that's connected to it, like an Excel spreadsheet that I might have used for an import. The rest of the screen is fairly simple too. Each one of these transactions does have a field, so you can go through, for instance, the date here. If I pick the dates, or the fiscal periods rather, pick whichever fiscal period. But the easy part of it is if I use the transaction date will actually select or create the post period for you. Now you can change this if you want to on a transaction, provided the system is set up to allow you to do that. Notice also that if you're dealing with currencies more other than US, you have the ability to change currencies or use currencies based on what you have set up in the system. The other most important part is down below where we take a look at our grid. The grid section is laid out in a little bit different manner. It allows the user to go from either data entry form or from a grid form. Right now it's in grid, here's data entry form. I can do this by switching back and forth using the pencil, or I can go ahead and use F4, which will allow me to do the same thing. I can add, I can also delete lines on the grid. Notice up here, when you see this icon, it tells you can export the detail to Excel, and here you can actually use this to import or load records from an Excel file and some other files into the grid section. It makes it very easy to do things like payroll transactions. Lastly, we want to cover what's in the grid itself. If I wanted to, let's say, move non-billable, I can move it over here, and as I do that, the red arrows show up where it's going to drop. So I can move columns if I wish to make it easier for me to use, and I can also get rid of columns. So let's say I did not want to see the non-billable. I could go over here to this little icon in the upper left-hand corner, and click on that, and I can take non-billable, highlight it, and drag it over here. When I press OK, that means that it's going to save this layout for me for this particular session. Once I log out, it'll go back to the original way that it was set up. On the other hand, if I click Save, as I'm going to do in this case, now it's off the screen, and every time I as a user log in, I'll see the same screen layout. For other users, they will be able to choose their own layouts and allow them to select how they want to use the system for their own purposes. So we saw how easy it is to, and simple it is to use the navigational aspects of Acumatica screens for data entry and making it user-friendly and hopefully increasing efficiency and reducing time it takes to do transactions inside of the Acumatica system.
The competition will say they are better, but can they offer one solution with unlimited users? We can. That's freedom to grow. That's Acumatica. Find out more at cortex.com.